So today we're gonna help you understand New Earth. All praise to nobody else. Peace and love. New Earth.
Welcome to the Reality Revolution. I am your host, Brian Scott. Today's episode is about New Earth, but in particular, it's about the New Earth now. That's the point of this podcast. I want to get an idea into your subconscious mind. I want to persuade you, if I can, if you give me the opportunity, that the New Earth is now, that it's happening now. I have dedicated several episodes to the idea of the New Earth, and you certainly have heard a lot about the New Earth in materials such as Dolores Cannon, who speaks of it, as well as the Law of One material that speaks about fourth density. This has been discussed by so many different authors and has been a feature of many different channelings. But there is a flaw in our current thinking that was explained very clearly by Neville Goddard.
Yeah.
You don't imagine this thing of the New Earth happening somewhere in the future. We're holding it off. We're pushing it away in our own minds, stuck in our own certain existence now. When in fact, we should be imagining the New Earth as if it is happening now.
Right.
As Neville Goddard would explain, we should be imagining from the New Earth.
There we go.
Not about the New Earth. And I'm going to make an argument and convince you that you are experiencing the New Earth now. And I'm going to show you so that you can believe. Because I want to get to that part of you that believes. And you may be very fascinated or interested in this material, but you still may not believe, even though you are a starseed, even though you came to this planet to do this work, to change this planet. You are not definitely all the way there. I know many, many people I meet. I am not trying to impose or enforce any beliefs on you. Rather, I'm inviting you to entertain some new ideas. And if you're drawn to them, to live with them until it becomes more apparent whether they have the genuine ring of truth and can be accepted as integral parts of your life. Of course, the great scientists and mathematicians have often admitted that many of their discoveries have been the result of flashes of intuition coming from they knew not where. This faculty must be respected and used in our uncertain days when consciousness is breaking through into fields beyond what ordinary sense perception can attain. These flashes of insight I receive all the time about this new planet, and my reticular activating device is pulling me all the time to new material about it as well. Since the issues involved in the New Earth concern the very survival of our human race and of life on our planet, we are certainly justified in according the most serious consideration to the intuitions and communications received telepathically, channeled by sensitives all over the world, and emanating, it would appear, from higher intelligences. I know some of you do not believe that information. In our dramatic age, we must learn to reserve judgment keep an open mind to unusual possibilities, however surprising and perhaps even unlikely they may appear at first sight. To open this podcast on the imminence of the new earth, let me quote from a lecture from Anthony Brooke entitled The Awakening of Man. Mr. Brooke states succinctly and lucidly the human situation in its universal context in relation to these higher intelligences. It is evident, beyond question and beyond doubt, for all who are not entirely blind to the signs of the times, that our planet is today undergoing an acute evolutionary crisis. To the peoples of our divided world, the choice would seem to be clear: to change our ways and unite together, or to perish like the civilizations of the past. Actually, it is not quite like that, because while the old and outworn civilization is doomed and dying, there is already evidence of something new and glorious. A new man, a new creation coming to birth. We are experiencing this as a total healing, the welding into oneness of our divided and tortured body of humanity.
Now, when he say that, he's not talking about the oneness that they talking about. Remember, the devil tries to copy the Most High. He's talking about the oneness that the Creator has been talking about all along. The heaven, okay, not the heavens that they talk about. We talking about something the Creator's talking about, something totally different than what they talking about. We also is talking about the oneness of being on the same page, serving the Creator only and nobody else, realizing and being in total contact as far as connectability with our power, realizing that the Creator has done something in us and allowed us to dwell in these bodies, and of course we are his children, so therefore that means we have some abilities that we have to wait for him to make happen with the DNA that we have, that he's given us. And but the Creator is the one that made all these things. However, the devil did do some things, not to us. He did to some of our brethren, unfortunately. And of course, we do have to recognize there was a whole rape during slavery. So some people, it's not all the way you yet. Hopefully, they can breed it out. No disrespect to anybody, ain't prejudice, it's being real. Because the fact is, we have to be what the Creator wants us to be. And he also said, the Creator said he's going to renew us, which means what? So he's most likely held DNA to the point of everything that he needs us to be in order to do these abilities. We have a different genes, as they would like to say, inside of us that unfortunately we don't use due to the fact that we have to have this DNA. What's the word? Turned on, so to speak. They call it junk DNA. This is what the scientists and the doctors will call it, junk DNA. They know what DNA it is. They don't want you to know what DNA it is.
There is, however, a need first to view our condition in its cosmic context, because we have entered into what may come to be known as the cosmic age, the space age, and I would like to offer you my understanding of what this means. We each form a part of the universe of living energy, an immense unified field of living, pulsating energy. If we are to speak of God, then God must comprise the totality of this universal life energy and must itself be each and all of the manifestations within the universe in their countless forms, visible and invisible, and infinitely more besides, which the human mind cannot possibly comprehend. The living wholeness of being is infused in its every part with a loving and purposeful intelligence and moves consistently towards maintaining itself in order, harmony, and balance, towards maintaining its oneness and perfection. It follows that man's mind is designed to be attuned and to keep attuned to this consciousness of oneness, of wholeness, of perfect being, and to experience this in conditions reflected in the environment, which would thus become, in metaphorical language, heaven upon earth. Yet we know that throughout recorded history, the very opposite has been the condition most generally experienced on earth. In the place of wholeness, perfection, order, and harmony, we have tended in ourselves and in our world to experience conditions of division, imperfection, confusion, and conflict, which our newspapers, television, and radio daily bring to our attention. In the urgency of the present moment, no good purpose is served by debating the reasons associated with man's inbuilt power of free will, why humanity throughout history has clung to an apparently self-imposed course of suffering, conflict, and destruction. The important thing now for us to realize and to accept is that energies are at hand, as in.
We know why. When it was our people, so unfortunately, some folks got greedy and started thinking like the slave people, owners who didn't enslave anybody at the time as far as our people, but were looking to. And yes, they had some help, unfortunately. And of course, some folks got put in slavery too, because they thought about it twice and changed their mind and had to change their heart because it wasn't really in them to do that sort of thing. But it didn't matter, it was too late. And then, of course, you got these guys now. They on the same trail doing evilness all the way worse. It looks like it's worse than we ever did it. And so if you ask me, they're right on the route. And if you've been paying attention, you know that they're right on the route. And this is going to make us get this new earth because we have woken up. Through all this craziness and this madness, we've woken up, and then we realizing that it was not a good idea to go on this path, and that we had made the mistake. We have learned from our punishment, and now we are looking to go forward and not make these mistakes again, to finally realize that anything you do affects not just somebody else, everybody else. It's a trickle down effect. Oh, and also, I shouldn't even call it trickle down effect. It's a trickle sideways or sideways effect, almost like dominoes.
Indeed, they have always been at hand to help us to move out of this condition, and we cannot afford any longer to ignore them. The barriers in man's mind are in fact today giving way to powerfully creative and uplifting energies which are flooding into his consciousness to provide him individually and collectively with an unparalleled opportunity to be instrumental in bringing new life to the planet, a new civilization based upon enduring values of love, truth, joy, peace, and the ideal of service to his fellow human beings and to other life streams which contribute to and support the life of our planet. These values have been proclaimed to man by wise ones down the ages, and now man is required to incarnate and express them ever more consistently in his daily living if he is to enjoy any further existence upon earth. Many are the ways that are open to man to play his part in the creative process, and these energies themselves, provided he opens himself to them, are the enabling source to provide him with the strength to be increasingly effective to this end. To summarize, 1, we are being invited to accept what for many of us is a new fact, a new truth, that there are superior forms of intelligent life in the universe which are making contact with us by various means and in various ways. 2,
we are not supposed to deal with them, only deal with the creator, because these things come speaking peace, they come speaking love, and they're not part of us, and they are looking to destroy us, unfortunately. So we need to be doing is focusing on the energy we get things from, which is the creator and nobody else.
Us to be earthed. It is thus dependent on us when and where the new earth manifests. But the moment we learn to open ourselves and invoke them, the new earth energies begin to flow. Thus, man's understanding, acceptance, and creative channeling is an essential factor. Just as we have noted, the higher worlds are to be found wherever we can direct our attention to them. We must also recognize
There's something the creator was talking about, chilling factor. Okay, okay, the chilling factor was the simple. For us, all we have to do, which he already told us, is what? To what? Call on him. We turn back to who? The creator. And recognize our sins, ask for forgiveness for not only for our sins, but our ancestors' sins. And then just don't do those bad things no more. And then keep on trying to get to know the creator. Keep on waking other people up, to keep on telling the truth, to keep on speaking truth, keep on only dealing with truth and people who want to hear the truth, and folks who are dealing with and researching, who are free thinkers, who are in the truth. And that's how everything starts changing, because we are going back to our roots, which is the creator, and the root is where everything happens, because the creator is now what? Channeling the energy. What's he doing? Channeling the energy. Why? Because we call on him and his creative energy, and this will bring you new earth. He will put us at the top and those at the bottom.
that the new earth already exists. It only remains for us to determine how and where it shall assume concrete form. As Brooke claims, there appears to be a clear intention on the part of the higher intelligences to influence man and cooperate with him wherever and whenever he offers them the opportunity. We must, however, not forget the fact that by divine dispensation, we have been given free will. Free will is the most important thing to consider in the evolution of the new earth. We have free will. Nothing is set in stone. It is.
And this is why it's a good thing. We're gonna have free will. We're not gonna be coached by outsiders, outside sources, double sources, demons, posing as good guys when they are fallen ones. We're not gonna have to worry about that no more, because that's exactly what's been happening. Fallen ones keep coming, and they come with their chariots of war. If that's y'all want to keep calling them, the creator said they are weapons of war, but exact on paper anyway, it says array. They are array. Well, he calls them rebels. So let me get that right. He says the rebels are array, which means to be in, are array, and weapons of war. So they sit in these weapons of war, and they come down from the sky, which is actually, when you get so far, it's actually the abyss. And what happens? They came down here on spaceships, plural, not just once, but a bunch of times, and pretended to be who? The Most High. That's right. That's what they did. And that all good guys, right? And some messengers. Now, we're not saying all of them was bad, but there's ones that turned bad, and that's what the problem has been since then. And what they gonna do around this time, like as last time? They're gonna come down here and pretend the same old crap, and they're gonna trick a lot of people, unfortunately. And you see, I already got tons of people giving people got the mark of the beast. Period. A lot of folks do now. We know we all know what we're talking about. We just can't. I know I can't, and I'm pretty sure, at least not on camera, we could say those words due to the fact of the sensories. However, the fact doesn't change what's happening, and the fact does not change that we have to focus on the creator, and we can't fall for the buffoonery. Again, we will be the only ones who did not fall for the fake alien invasion. Everybody else before us has fell before that, and they have fell for the fake alien invasion. And they have taken deals, all right, and made oaths with these things. We are the ones to stop it. We're not going to do it, and we're going to keep our free will. We're only going to serve the creator, freely, like we were supposed to, instead of being tricked, brainwashed, and beaten, and abused, hung, castrated, burnt, and so much many other things, to be forced to do what we didn't want to do. Now we're going to do it the right way because we want to do it, and we're not going to do what they want us to do.
It is our responsibility to do this. Cooperation, therefore, can never be forced by these higher intelligences, nor will it occur if we simply remain passive and wait for the new earth. Disaster may be allowed to strike us as a salutary lesson designed to waken us, but the true inner cooperation must await our invitation. We must invite this intelligence to act with us. It can only come if man calls for it in our inner freedom. This naturally he will never do until he accepts the reality of these higher worlds. Hence the importance in studying the findings of those who can research into the spiritual world. The inner freedom that I just...
So not only do you have to do the right things, but you have to hope and actually pray to the Creator for this new earth of us being on top and them being at the bottom.
Trust is guaranteed by the very nature of the telepathic contact, which speaks as the still small voice within the mind or in the impulse to action in the heart. Though the source is all powerful, the method is delicate and gentle. Unless we can learn to still our chattering minds, we shall never hear the guidance. A spiritual being will not appear outside of us and command us, ever. It will speak telepathically within our thoughts, as if we had ourselves answered the question we posed. In short, there is...
So now you understand when I said the Creator speaks to people, but not the voice. So if you have a question, you ask the Creator, he will tell you the answer or show the answer. As he's done me, he will do you.
No constraint or compulsion. Again, we have total freedom of choice to listen or ignore the intimation that apparently we offer ourselves. It is not even necessary that we know its higher source.
Just be careful, because if you don't, the devil can sneak in there and give you an answer. So this, you gotta have use discernment. Use discernment.
Whatever that may be, we are continually being subtly influenced in a constructive way. Every day, just a little bit more, for we each have our invisible guides as well as our higher self. And the inner mental contact afforded by these principles is clearly the doorway to true spiritual experience, lifting us beyond the dangers of deception, including the deception that arises through to great preoccupation with psychic phenomena. There are many qualitative degrees in the blending of minds. Those with developed intuition do really meet and converse in fullest consciousness with the beings of the spiritual world. Most of us...
You should only be dealing with the Creator, okay, who is a spirit. We're gonna cut that part off due to the fact that, you know, when they start to go north, that's when I switch them. Okay, so let's get to this. This is important. Something I thought y'all should hear.
And of course he mentions vampires and those types of things. You know, you probably saw the video. If you didn't, you should check it out. It's kind of strange that it's not trending. We all know it's all a big scam. But Joe actually gave some truth, and I'm not talking about the video I put up last night. If you haven't seen it, where he talks about Satan incarnate, reincarnated, whatever his term was. The guy slips the tongue a lot and very unstably speaks, but could that be part of the charade of what's to come? Who knows? And of course he...
Yeah, letting the cat out the bag. And he straight told you the devil's gonna be reincarnated, right? And they keep pushing that Mr. J because they know who Mr. J is. So like I've been telling y'all, the devil's coming. And he going, this shit's crazy. They're gonna have this fake space invasion. Usually when they tell you something's gonna happen, it's already happened.
Mentions vampires and those types of things. You know, you probably saw the video. If you didn't, you should check it out. It's kind of strange that it's not trending or it's not all over the place. You know, I was even trying to find the entire town hall to break it down and I couldn't. But let me just show you what Joe said that I happen to agree with.
This is not a pandemic. This is not a pandemic. This is not a pandemic. This is not a pandemic.
Hey, whoa! It took long enough. It took long enough. Now, he goes on to talk about 160 million people being inoculated and how really the only issue, because there isn't one. So if there isn't one, obviously, what's going to happen with the masks and stuff, right? Trying to get it on kids in school,
Y'all heard
trying to
that,
get it
right?
back in. But if there isn't anything going on, Joe.
Heard it out one of Double's mouths.
This is where people will chime in. They'll be like, you're mistaking what he said there. Well, he says that there isn't one, and the only one is amongst the people who don't. Okay. So pretty much the ones who don't are screwed. All right, then let them be. Oh, but they care so much. So next time somebody has a serious infection, you gonna hand them antibiotics? Somebody commented the other day, if they were on one of my videos, that they were very, very sick and they needed medication and they couldn't get medication that they needed. Other people have commented that they needed an operation and couldn't get an operation, or relatives of theirs couldn't get an operation, and it became fatal because they couldn't afford it. It's really convenient that this is like right out of your pocket. And boy, and then they say, that's the amazing part. Then they say, well, if you are inoculated, you can still get it. And then when people say, well, then why would I? Then they just say, well, there's a better chance. I don't know. I don't know. All I know is, they're really slipping. I mean, really slipping. So that's the narrative that they give, right? And then yesterday, and I can't put it on the screen, unfortunately, because they always are upgrading their algorithm to pick up new words to try, because they just don't want content or anything out there that has any difference of opinion. And they don't want anyone to influence except for them, even though people like me.
Yeah, because I got the other channel. Some of y'all didn't know. That's why I've been putting stuff on Rumble still to this day. And I'm every time I put something on Rumble, almost every time, I'm gonna leave a link for the real important stuff that I can't put on YouTube because they gave me a strike and they banned my second channel from as far as recording, commenting, or anything like that. So they weren't able to do it all the way, but basically they do have it where, because they don't know what I can do, but they do have it where I can't post videos for a week, all because of something that wasn't even, I didn't even mention the it was something else that was mentioned. I didn't even say it, it was just in the video, and it's talking about how Biden's talking about how they're gonna be going all over the place. How Biden was talking about how they're gonna come to your door, and that's just all I can say. I can't say nothing else than that. Yeah, they took a video down for that and gave me a strike. That don't make no sense, right?
We aren't even trying to influence anyone. I'm just showing you how ridiculous all this stuff is. I mean, it's ridiculous. It's out of their own mouths. They contradict themselves. A week ago, or a couple of days ago, Joe was saying there was a pandemic. They're saying there's not. But the pandemic is amongst those who are on magic potion, right? But anyway, there was an article up on CNN, and it said in big letters. You can't make it up. You really can't. It said, 2 people in the White House test positive despite getting the jab. So what do you think? Maybe they don't want to put those stories out there, right? Because then it makes people go, I mean, if their whole goal is to get everyone to take the potion, then why even go that route at this point, right? But it's just a mess. I've never seen the mainstream media such a mess. And I'm not talking about left versus.
Listen, it is what it is. We gotta move a little further. Here's a scary truth that y'all do need to hear, though. Okay, we're gonna get straight to this right here. And the more I thought about this, the more I said, this has to be shown. This is from, oh snap, I made it full screen. But this is gonna weigh you. If you have any kids watching this right now, you might want to move them away from the screen, because this is going to get in depth of what's going on, and this can bother some people, I think. Anyhow, I don't know why this thing taking so long to do what it's supposed to do.
And to just knowing eternity is like torture in itself, because there is no beginning. Yeah. And to just knowing eternity is
Did 3 nights and was, quote, incredibly intense.
everybody's journey is different. The second night I went to hell for eternity. Yeah. And to just knowing eternity is like torture in itself, because there is no beginning, middle, or end. So you have like a real ego death.
And Megan says that ayahuasca was able to help her in ways that therapy and hypnotherapy couldn't before.
It just goes straight into your soul, and it takes you to the psychological prison that you hold yourself in. So it's your own version of hell. And I was definitely there.
I'm also interested in religious experiences, and for one reason or another, and it's a bottomless mystery, there are agents that reliably produce religious experiences, and no one knows what in the world to do about that. That's for sure.
Talk about a strange trip.
It's mind-blowing.
Megan Fox gets candid about drinking ayahuasca with Machine Gun Kelly in Costa Rica.
It's hard to top that one, man.
The Till Death actress appeared on Monday's Jimmy Kimmel Live with guest host Arsenio Hall and opened up about her quasi-spiritual journey in the Central American wilderness with her boyfriend after drinking the psychoactive tea used in ceremonial rituals as a spiritual medicine, which BTW induces auditory and visual hallucinations.
I just want to point out, Arsenio Hall got his show back. You know they had to clone that motherfucker. You know that's not the same Arsenio Hall no more, y'all. You can count that, chalk that up on the list. That he's cloned. They got Arsenio Hall. They made him go bankrupt and then put him into the rap game, give him his show back, and cloned his ass. Pay close attention if you watch this show. You see he's not the same guy.
Do you guys know what ayahuasca is?
Oh, yes.
So we went to Costa Rica to do ayahuasca like in a proper setting, like with indigenous people, and I was thinking it was like glamping or something like that. Still going to be like some kind of 5-star experience. And you get there and you really are in the middle of the jungle, and you don't get to eat after like 1 p.m. You have to walk a very far distance to get your water. You can't shower because they're in a drought. Nothing glamorous about it. It's all a part of sort of making you vulnerable so that you surrender to the experience.
Sound familiar? That's what the devil told us. He wanted us to what? Oh yeah, starve yourself, right? That was in his thing, right? Starve yourself for whatever amount of day, whatever. And then what happens? So that he can get in touch with you spiritually. Remember, our people were also doing hallucinogen drugs back then. Yes, they were. You can look this up, buddy. Saying who was they getting in touch with them? Let's find out.
You know, and it's certainly the case that, like, I firmly believe that the world is not the way we perceive it. It's deeply strange. And I do believe that the hallucinogens reveal that. There's a narrative aspect to it. There's a religious aspect to it. There's a meaningful aspect to it that we don't understand. We can't understand it scientifically, or we haven't been able to. The scientific viewpoint excludes that to some degree. And I think the best evidence for that probably does come from hallucinogenic experience. Now, people have a biologically instantiated religious instinct. Now, it's possible that that only speaks of our peculiar biological nature, that it doesn't reflect broader reality as such. But if you go deep enough into the psyche, it becomes increasingly difficult to separate what you discover from reality. Now, people can clearly have individual subjective religious experiences. Most scientific phenomena are objective. Many people have to experience phenomena at the same time. You have these religious experiences that can be induced by hallucinogens, let's say. Each person has their own particular
religious experience. Didn't we talk about that? And what's these religious experience? Well, some of these people like to call it the Holy Ghost. Some people simply use these hallucinogenic drugs after starving themselves and go to other, dimensions and find out some things they don't need to know about, which can be very disturbing. And we ain't supposed to be doing these things. We're supposed to just deal with the creator.
Experience, but everyone has an experience that's similar. And we don't know what to do about that category of experience. And then, you know, we think in stories and we see the world through a structure of value. I think that has been proven beyond a doubt by neuroscientists and psychologists. And the fact that we see the world through a prism of value seems to indicate that there's something about value that's real. And so that's partly why things are deeply mysterious. I mean, Rick Strassman, he terrified himself right out of the DMT research, as far as I could tell, because all his subjects came back and said, oh, you know, I went somewhere else and saw aliens. It's like, well, it was a dream. No, sorry, wasn't a dream, was way more real than any dream. In fact, it was actually more real than life. Well.
So they went someplace and saw demons when they took those hallucinating drugs and did some type of prayer and passed out after starving themselves.
What do you do with that?
Think about
I mean, it's beyond comprehension. Our culture grew out of the Bible. It's grounded in the Bible, for better or worse. And so if you want to know who you are.
Say what? Culture? So you mean there's actually some history in there, although you put history in there backwards on purpose, try to make us go to Africa when you're not from Africa. When the real so-called Africa and all of this, not the name is in America. On top of that, that's a whole other story, whole other conversation. So, yeah, and then what, y'all put some of y'all history, y'all culture in there as well, in that New Testament, other stuff like that. And you sneak a couple of things in there in other books too. And then you make sure you try to trick the people, right?
Why you think the way you think. If you think you know the way you think. You think you think. You don't. Or very rarely.
See? So basically, these religions brainwash you into thinking the way they want you to think. Not being a free thinker so you can think the way the Creator wants you to think, with truth and spirit and the guidance of the Creator.
The thoughts are greater than you are, some sense. I mean, it's very rare that you think something that someone else hasn't thought, you know.
So the Creator's thoughts is the thoughts she wants, because there's other thoughts out there coming from things that are on a level than you right now, who are wanting to stop you from you ascending to your natural estate so that you can do what the Creator wants you to do.
Why?
And I don't mean going up to the sky, ascending. I mean ascending in a spiritual state. That's what they're trying to stop. And if you do that, then we can worry about, you know, cleaning up this whole space of all this ugly other demons and other places. We got a lot of work to do.
I can't remember who said it. Might have been Alfred North Whitehead, that, you know, everyone's the unconscious proponent of some philosopher. Everyone is the unconscious proponent of some philosopher. So anyways, the deepest values are religious, and our religious document is the Bible, and the Bible is an absolute mystery.
A mystery, that means you can't just read it and understand what it's talking about. That's why I keep saying every single verse, every scripture, every word, research the whole thing so you can get the meaning, and then you see what they're really talking about, and you'll be surprised at some of the things they're really talking about and what you thought they was talking about. It's actually something demonic. And there's some things they are talking about that goes to a whole other extent that you're gonna have to get out that Bible and find another resource to get even more information from, because it's just that deep. It never stops.
The deepest questions are religious questions, and the Bible is the best answer we have. And if you don't like that, well, fine, do better. Good luck.
Not the best one. All right.
I mean, there's wisdom in that book. It's unbelievable.
Peace and love, everybody. Praise Creator only. Nobody else.